So now it's time to put on some shadows on this left-hand elephant. Now, the side of the elephant is actually slightly darker and the head of him is slightly lighter, so we're going to do that first, just slightly darken down the side of this elephant. So we've got some colour down there already, so it's not too dark, just taking it slightly darker than a mid-value and coming in again with that damp brush to soften up all those edges. A little more blue just down at the bottom of the legs and on the trunk, just to take that slightly darker and make it a slightly different colour. Now we're going in with the really deep shadows. I'm being careful here. I'm going to keep a crisp line next to that tusk because we want that tusk to really stand out, so I'm being careful here. There's currently a hard line on the left-hand side, but I'll go in and soften that so it's curving around that front leg. Always be careful to know where your hard edges are and your soft edges, and keep those soft edges really soft. A little more colour going on, and I'm just softening here and there, just not making that line too hard. Our brains will join things together. We don't have to have rigid, hard lines a lot of the time. And so now we're going down in at the bottom leg. Now that's in pretty deep shadow, so that's really quite dark. But I'm not just colouring it in, I'm kind of placing bits of colour. And as the paint is wet, going in with a damp brush, just joining it together, just gives it a little bit of interest rather than just a very flat, dark area. If we don't like it later on, we can always make it darker. Right, so the side of this elephant, just a little bit of dark, just where that front leg comes out, really softening that edge because that's quite a big, expansive body back there. And that slight hard line on the right will bring that front leg out. Now we're going down into the bottom bit, and this is dark down here because there's not a lot of light, so it's quite dark. But again, I'm softening edges where I can. I'm being quite choosy as to which edges stay hard. You don't need a lot of hard edges. A little colour on this ear. This is a little odd because it's at the top of the head, you'd think it was light, but it's actually quite dark up there. So my hard edge is at the top where it hits the background, and a clean damp brush comes in, softens all that out, and then curves the form around. And you have to remember, keep that softening brush really clean, otherwise you'll just drag paint all over the place. Okay, a little bit of darkness on the trunk. Again, the trunk is quite dark as it's at the bottom. The light is coming from the top right. So we want this on the whole to be darker. Just touching up around that tusk. There's darks around it, so it'll bring it out and make it look white. A little softening on that top bit of trunk, so we don't look as though we've got a rigid, hard edge there. Okay, little dabbing, just checking my edges are okay. Yeah, I think he's looking okay. And yeah, so this crevice in here is very dark. There's almost no light in there, so I'm just going back in and just darkening down a little bit. Again, not colouring it in a big flat area, just placing a bit of paint. You probably can't tell from this, but I'm pausing and leaning back and checking. This is not a real-time video, so it looks as though it just flows from start to end, but it doesn't really. There's a lot of stuff in between where I'm thinking and looking and deciding. Right, so this is quite important, this bit I'm putting in the eye. And it's tempting when you're doing this kind of thing to, oh, it's important, it's the eye, to put a lot of detail in, but you don't need very much. You do have to be careful. And this is one of the times I will use the point of the brush because those little pieces are very, very small. But I'm just carefully looking at where the shadows are around the eye. There's a shadow underneath. There's just a shadow around the top. Just putting in the essentials. Little under eye bag then, softening the underneath part. So one side of that piece is hard and one side is soft. Soften that head bit a bit. It is quite dark up there. It feels counterintuitive sometimes doing these dark bits where you feel they shouldn't be, but that is what we're seeing. A little bit of definition where the tusk comes out. A little bit of shadow again around that eye, just to emphasize that the light is on the top of the head. Now these pieces on the light side, there's not a lot to these. But they're quite important, but you just need a few little dark accents just to give it a little bit of form to show you there's something going on there. And you're not drawing things, that's the eye I'm drawing there, but it's not really an eye, it's just a few dark dabs of paint. Softening the edges. And if everything else is right, our brains will fill in the details. Right, some little bits of detail on the trunk, these lines that come across the trunk. They're looking a bit hard here, but yeah, I'm going in, just softening them a little, putting them down, softening them till they read well. A little more touch up. Just dabs, it really is dabs now. Occasional bits where I feel that things need to be darkened. A little bit of dark in there, yeah, that'll just balance that bit of dark I put in that ear. But it's small changes here, just small value changes. Softening, just a few more accents. A little bit of extra on the eye. I put those extra darks in, so it just needs just a little bit. Gotta be careful not to do too much at this point. And again, yeah, that back leg just needs to be darkened down a little bit so it shows up. Yeah, I think he's looking nice, isn't he? It's very cool. Yes, I seem to be impressed. Yeah, it's a nice technique, this. Light washes, very loose edges, and then crisp up those shadows and the hard edges with a dark layer. Very nice. For a first go at elephants, I think I was very pleased. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed it. I'll probably be doing some elephants in the future, I think. Hope to see you again.